I was sitting on the dock at Mirror Lake, minding my own business and eating a slightly squished peanut butter sandwich, when a golden retriever ran straight into me and stole the other half right out of my hand. Before I could say anything, a man jogged up behind the dog, panting and smiling like we were old friends. "Sorry about her," he said. "She's still learning boundaries." "Beautiful day, huh?" He looked harmless enough, mid-30s, flannel shirt, camera bag slung over one shoulder, the kind of guy you'd expect to see hiking or cataloging mushrooms. He clipped the leash back on the dog, who immediately sat, tongue lolling, like butter wouldn't melt in her mouth. "Listen," he said, scratching his head. "This is weird, but I have to take a call, work stuff, and I don't want to bring her near the road. Would you mind watching her for, 10 minutes? He looked embarrassed, asking. I hesitated, then nodded. I mean, it was a dog. At a lake. What could go wrong? "Great," he said, already jogging off. "Her name's Clover." "Thanks." And just like that, I was dog-sitting. At first, Clover just sniffed everything in a 10-foot radius. Then she sat next to me, pressing her body against my leg like we were bonded for life. 10 minutes passed. Then 20. Then 30. I scanned the trail. No sign of Flannel Guy. I called out once. Nothing. I checked my phone. No signal. And that's when Clover stood up and started walking away, not toward the trail, but into the woods. She looked back once, then kept going. I don't know why I followed her. Maybe it was instinct, or maybe I was just bored. But something in her walk felt deliberate, like she knew something I didn't. I followed her off the path, branches catching on my jacket, the lake vanishing behind me. Then she stopped, barked once, and scratched at the ground. I pushed some leaves aside and froze. Buried under the dirt was a metal tin. I opened it. Inside were 5 rolled-up $100 bills, and a note that read, "If you found this, he's watching. Don't run." My first thought, some sick joke. My second, this guy had ditched me on purpose. But why? I knelt beside the tin, still holding the note like it might bite me. The bills were real, crisp, folded neatly like someone had packed them for a lunch. Clover sat beside me, tail wagging slowly, her big brown eyes fixed not on me, but on something behind me. I turned around. Nothing. Just trees and filtered light. I pocketed the cash and the note. Yes, I know how that sounds. And backed away from the hole, brushing dirt and leaves back over the tin. I didn't want to look at it anymore. I pulled out my phone again. Still no signal. I glanced at Clover. "Where's your owner?" I asked. She wagged her tail harder, then took off running. Not toward the trail, deeper into the woods. I cursed, stuffed the note into my back pocket, and ran after her. I nearly lost her twice. The forest thickened, the air damp and still. Then we came into a clearing. Clover stopped. So did I. In the middle of the clearing stood a tent. Not a camping tent, but one of those old canvas army surplus things. Like something from the 1960s. And next to it, a folding chair. And on the chair, a camera. I stepped closer. The camera was pointed at the tent, mounted on a tripod, the lens hood open. It was recording. Clover whined and circled the chair, then trotted to the side of the tent and scratched. I called out. No answer. I approached slowly, every part of me screaming this was a bad idea. I pulled back the flap. No one inside. Just more cash. Stacked inside a red duffel bag. And on top of the bag, another note. Bring her to the road. Or this ends badly, for both of you. My hands were shaking now. Who was her? Me or Clover? I turned to leave, and saw Flannel Guy standing at the edge of the clearing, smiling like we were old friends again. You made good time, he said. I didn't know whether to run or scream, or pretend I was cool with whatever this was. Flannel Guy stepped into the clearing, hands raised like he was approaching a skittish deer. Hey, relax, he said. You did great. Clover barked once, then returned to my side like we were still best friends. I glanced between them. What the hell is going on? He tilted his head and smiled, like I'd asked the first interesting question of the day. Let's walk, he said. I'll explain. Against every survival instinct I had, I followed him. We stayed in the woods, Clover trotting ahead like she was showing us both the way. You're not the first, he began. Others came before you. I needed to be sure you'd follow the signs. That you'd trust the dog. That you'd open the tin. What if I hadn't? Then you wouldn't be here, he said simply. We reached a narrow gravel road. A van sat parked at the edge of the tree lane. He gestured to it. This is where it gets real. What's in the van? I asked. Proof, he said. And maybe answers. I should have walked away. I know that. But curiosity has always been my fatal flaw. I climbed into the passenger seat. He closed the door behind me, then handed me a small, black USB drive. Plug it in, he said. I hesitated, then did it. The screen mounted on the dash flickered to life. Footage. Dozens of video files. All labeled with dates. Some from yesterday. Some from years ago. All of them featured the same dog, Clover. In different places. With different people. Always leading them somewhere. Always digging up something. She finds what matters, he said quietly. And if we're lucky, she leads the right people to it. Why me? I asked. That, he said, starting the engine, is what we're about to find out. We pulled away from the lake. And I realized I still had no idea what game I just stepped into. We drove for maybe an hour, deeper into the hills, past spots where the GPS stopped working and the road narrowed until it was barely more than a rutted track through thick trees. Neither of us spoke much. He seemed content to let the silence stretch, as if waiting for me to ask the next question. I didn't. I watched the trees blur by, one hand resting on Clover's back as she snored softly in my lap. Eventually, we reached a weathered cabin set back from the road. Not abandoned, but close. He parked, cut the engine, and turned to me. You're not the only one who's followed her, he said. But most people, they get scared. They turn back. You didn't. I didn't have a choice, I said. You did, he replied. You always have a choice. We stepped inside. The cabin was cramped but neat. A small desk stacked with maps. A corkboard littered with notes, photographs, and strings pinned between them like something out of a conspiracy movie. And right in the center, the same note I found in the tin. He's watching. Don't run. I stared at it. So who's he? I asked. He didn't answer. Instead, he pulled a folder from the desk and handed it to me. Inside were photos. Me. Taken from behind trees. Across parking lots. Through windows. My apartment. My job. Even the lake, me, on the dock, sandwich in hand. You were already part of this before today, he said. You just didn't know it. You're lying, I said. It came out flatter than I expected. He didn't even flinch. About what? About everything. About the dog, the notes, this operation. He nodded like he understood, like he'd heard it before. I'd be skeptical too. But the truth doesn't need you to believe it. I looked back down at the photos. One of them had been taken from inside my apartment. I recognized the angle from the kitchen window. Who took these? I asked. Who's been watching me? We all have roles, he said. Some of us collect, some of us observe, and some are rare ones, are meant to act. You've been observed because you've done something rare. What's that? You followed. He walked over to the desk and picked up a Polaroid. It was Clover standing in a field I didn't recognize. She always finds the ones who are ready. I didn't know what to say. My brain felt like it was splitting in two, one half still clinging to the old world, the other tumbling down whatever rabbit hole this was. What happens now? I asked. He smiled. Now you meet the others. He led me around the back of the cabin, where a narrow trail disappeared into the woods. The walk was quiet. Clover trotted ahead, ears twitching at every rustle, like she knew we weren't alone. After 10 minutes, the trees parted, and we stepped into a wide clearing illuminated by string lights hung from the branches. At the center stood a fire pit surrounded by benches. And on those benches, 6 people, bundled in layers, each with the wary posture of someone who knew too much. They turned as we approached. Another one? A woman asked, eyes narrowing. Flannel guy nodded. She followed. A man stood and offered his hand. I'm Cal, he said. You've got questions. We all did. You'll get answers, some of them. But first, you listen. I sat. They told stories, fragments, really, about being approached in strange places, about finding hidden messages, money, even coded photographs. About seeing people who shouldn't exist. About realizing Clover wasn't a dog, not exactly, but a kind of compass. She found seekers, brought them to something bigger. What is this? I asked. A cult. That got a laugh from one of them, but it didn't last. It's not a cult, Cal said. It's a filter. The dog brings people who ask questions others avoid. Most ignore her. A few follow. Fewer understand. Even fewer stay. And what if I leave? I asked. He didn't answer. No one did. Just then, a low hum cut through the woods. Everyone froze. Clover stood up, hackles raised, growling. Lights around us dimmed. Cal looked at me. You asked about him, he said. He's found us. It was like a switch flipped. Cal and the others scattered, no longer casual or weary but sharp and efficient. A large metal case snapped open, and within seconds, the clearing transformed from campfire warmth to tactical readiness. "Grab that pack," Cal called out, voice clipped. He pointed to a canvas bag near the bench. I moved fast, my hand shaking as I swung it over my shoulders. "You stick with Clover," he said, already fitting a headset to his ear. "She's the only one who'll know what's real out there." I didn't have time to argue. Micah, the woman from earlier, pressed a flashlight and a walkie into my hands. "Don't answer unless it's your name and our frequency. And if anyone calls to you and you don't recognize the voice, run." "What's going on?" I asked, but the hum that had started earlier was now a pulse in the ground. Something or someone was moving closer. Fast. "He sends the others," Cal said. "Not people. Echoes. They look like us. Sometimes talk like us. But they're not. And if they catch us, then we're part of the static." The clearing lit up, eyes glowing in the trees, shape starting too fast to track. Clover growled and nudged my leg, then bolted toward a narrow path leading downhill. Without thinking, I followed. Behind me, chaos erupted. Yells, movement, footsteps not in sync with any human I'd known. The forest seemed to warp as I ran, trees shifting subtly out of place, the path curving where it hadn't been before. I kept my eyes on Clover's tail, the only anchor in the disorienting dark. My legs burned. My lungs ached. But I didn't stop. I couldn't. Eventually, the sounds behind me faded, swallowed by the forest. We broke into another clearing, smaller this time, ringed by smooth, carved stones that shimmered faintly in the moonlight. Clover sat, calm now, watching me. A figure stepped out from behind a tree. Not Cal. Not Micah. Someone new. He looked at me and smiled. "You made it farther than most," he said. "But now it's your turn to choose." The man who emerged from the shadows didn't look like a villain. He looked ordinary. Jeans, boots, flannel shirt, too similar to Flannel Guy, which made my skin crawl. But there was something off. His smile didn't quite reach his eyes, and those eyes, they shimmered faintly in the moonlight, like mirrors tilted at the wrong angle. Clover stayed seated, alert but not aggressive, which was the only reason I didn't run. "Who are you?" I asked. "Someone who sees patterns," he replied. "And right now, you're at the center of a very important one." He gestured to the carved stones around us. "Do you know what these are?" I shook my head. "Markers," he said. "Anchors for a boundary. You crossed into a place where things unravel slowly. This clearing is stable for now." He stepped closer. "You followed Clover, which means you've got the instinct. You saw through the static. You moved when most freeze. That's rare." My pulse pounded. "Why am I here?" "Because you can do what the others can't," he said. "You can close the loop." He pulled something from his coat, a device that looked like a cross between a compass and an old pocket watch. It clicked softly as he turned it in his hands. "This reads distortions in the field, intersections between moments." He held it out. "It's yours now." I hesitated. "Take it," he said. "She chose you." I looked down at Clover, who blinked up at me with calm, steady eyes. I took the device. It buzzed faintly in my palm, like it knew me. "What does it do?" "You'll learn," he said. "But be careful. The more you use it, the more you'll see. And once you see enough, there's no going back." "Going back to what?" I asked. "To believing the world makes sense." He took a step back into the shadows. "Stay in the clearing until sunrise. Don't answer if anyone calls your name, even if it sounds like someone you love." Then he was gone. Just gone. No sound. No crunch of leaves. Clover lay down beside me. The stones glowed softly, casting strange shadows. And somewhere in the trees, something whispered my name. I didn't move. Not all night. Sunrise didn't feel like relief. It felt like waking up in a world I didn't recognize, still cold, still quiet, but humming beneath the surface like something waiting to be unwrapped. The shadows retreated slowly. Clover stood first, stretched like nothing unusual had happened, and nudged my shoulder with her nose. The moment I stepped outside the ring of stones, the device in my hand clicked once. I looked down. The compass needle spun slowly, then stopped, pointing west. Clover trotted ahead without a sound. The trail she followed wasn't the one we'd come down. It twisted through underbrush and between trees I could have sworn weren't there before. I followed. The forest changed again, less like a place, more like a memory. Familiar details flickered, the corner of my childhood backyard fence, the sound of a bicycle bell from a street I hadn't walked since I was 10. It felt like walking through someone else's dream of my life. The needle spun faster, then locked in place. We broke into another clearing, but this one held a mirror. freestanding, full-length, with a gold frame etched in symbols that pulsed faintly. And in it, I saw myself, but not. My reflection blinked when I didn't. Tilted its head the wrong way. Smiled. Clover growled low in her throat. "Don't engage it," came a voice behind me. I spun. Micah emerged from the brush, face pale, hair tangled. She looked like she'd run through the night. "What is it?" I asked. "An echo," she said. "It's how we test your edges. If it speaks, don't respond. If it moves, you move away." "Where's everyone else?" "Scattered," she said. We regrouped, but not all made it out. "He's growing stronger." She stepped into the clearing and tossed a small pouch to me. "Anchors," she said. "Drop one near the mirror, it'll distort the field and shut the portal." I opened the pouch, 3 metal shapes that buzzed like tiny tuning forks. I threw one at the base of the mirror. It flashed, bright white, and the reflection twisted, warped, and shattered. Gone. I looked back. Micah was gone too. Just Clover and me again. And the compass, now pointing to a location I didn't know, but knew I had to find. I didn't ask where I was going. I just followed the compass. It clicked softly as I moved, its needle unwavering now, like it was sure of my destination even if I wasn't. Clover stayed close, her ears twitching with every distant sound, every creak of branch and shifting wind. The trail the compass led us down was more abstract than physical, no clear markers, no natural footpath, yet my legs moved as if guided by something deeper than sight. The trees thinned eventually, revealing a slope that dipped into a narrow valley filled with thick morning mist. In the center of it was a house, a small, one-story structure that looked impossibly out of place. It had white wooden siding, a wraparound porch, and a light in the front window like someone had been expecting us. Clover didn't hesitate. She trotted ahead, tail high, and sat at the foot of the porch steps. I followed. The door opened before I knocked. An old woman stood there. She looked ordinary. Slippers, a cardigan, her silver hair in a loose braid over her shoulder, but her eyes sharp, knowing, like they'd watched the world long enough to stop pretending. "Come in," she said, stepping aside. I did. The inside of the house was warmer than it should have been. Smelled like cinnamon and something older, like dust and memory. Clover curled up by the fireplace like she belonged there. The woman poured tea and handed me a cup. "You've come far," she said. "Farther than most." I nodded. "What is this place?" "It's the last threshold," she said. "You've passed the test of pursuit. Now comes the test of return." "Return to what?" "To the moment before," she said. "The last second when you still believed the world made sense. You'll be offered it back. Most don't take it, but you should understand the choice." I sipped the tea. It was bitter and sweet, like old apples and something metallic. She placed a small object on the table. A pocket watch. But instead of numbers, it held 12 tiny mirrors. "You turn it," she said, "and you get one moment restored. A memory. A place. A person. One truth, returned to you cleanly. But you lose all else you've learned. And if I don't turn it? Then you keep walking. And you stop asking questions with easy answers." She smiled gently. "One path is comfort. The other is clarity." I looked at Clover. She didn't move. I looked at the watch. Then I looked at the door. I stood. "I'm not done walking," I said. The woman nodded. "Then go." The watch vanished. The door opened on its own. The mist had thinned. And ahead, a new path waited. The stairs wound downward longer than seemed possible, spiraling into cool, dry air. My breath echoed. Clover padded quietly beside me, her ears alert. At the bottom was a narrow tunnel lined with thick cables and flickering lights. The compass stopped working. I tucked it into my jacket. Ahead, a metal door stood half open. I pushed it, expecting dust for silence. Instead, voices. A room buzzed with quiet conversation, maps pinned to walls, strings connecting places, names. And in the middle, Micah. Alive. Calm. "You made it," she said. I nodded, too stunned to speak. Around us, people, some I recognized from the woods, worked on old terminals and radio rigs. One wall had a board labeled versions. Photos. Mine among them. "We've been waiting for this," she said, handing me a folder. Inside were pages of notes. My handwriting. Journals I never wrote. "You left this for yourself the last time," she said. Your loop cracked wide open. "We think you're the key to stopping it repeating again." "The loop?" I asked. "Memory, identity, choice," she said. "All been around that lake." "And him." She pointed to a symbol etched into metal on the wall. I'd seen it in my dreams. On Clover's tag. On the mirror's frame. "He's an architect," she said. and he's losing control. You've broken further than anyone else. If you're willing, we can try to end this. I didn't fully understand, but I understood enough. I looked at Clover. She wagged her tail. Okay, I said. Let's end it. Lights flickered. The tunnel behind us groaned like something waking up, and we ran toward it, into whatever came next.